Good evening. You're tuning into AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Malaysia sees another record-breaking daily COVID-19 new cases today, passing yesterday's record. And we continue our conversation on making schools a safer place. That's coming up. A grim COVID-19 milestone today. Malaysia saw a record number of deaths at 59 cases. The Health Ministry also reported 6,806 new infections in the past 24 hours, the second day in a row that cases have hit new records and exceeded the 6,000 mark. Selangor recorded 2,277 new cases, the highest figure of all states, followed by 655 cases in Kuala Lumpur and 615 in Johor. Selangor had consistently recorded over 2,000 daily infections over the past week. Out of the 59 deaths recorded today, 14 were in Johor, 10 in Selangor, 8 in Wilayah Persekutuan and 6 in Kelantan. Datuk Seri Taqiyuddin Hassan said today the National Security Council will meet tomorrow to discuss the possibility of a more comprehensive nationwide lockdown. The de facto law minister said Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin will chair the meeting at 3 p.m. All Menteri Besars and Chief Ministers are expected to attend the meeting.
Ya, itu antara langkah-langkah yang perlu dipikirkan oleh pihak berkuasa lah, khususnya Majlis Keselamatan Negara perlu memikirkan. Option yang perlu ada itulah perkaranya. Selama ini kita mengadakan PKP, PKPP, PKPB dan sebagainya, itu adalah langkah-langkah yang perlu diambil sama ada secara keseluruhannya ataupun secara bersasar, itu bergantung pada keadaan.
He, however, did not mention the SOPs for a full lockdown if it is to be implemented. Malaysia went into a nationwide lockdown in March last year. This order covers ban on public gatherings, religious, sports and social activities. All business premises were closed except for those categorized as essential services. With the increase in the number of new daily COVID-19 cases, is a full nationwide lockdown the best way to go? Think tank MA Research says that while the government struggles to balance lives and livelihood, it is useful to take into consideration advice from stakeholders of all levels first.
The problem with the government is they listen to businesses who in general have told them no to lockdown. You see, no to strict lockdown. I mean, we can understand that because the pandemic has caused business to go down, you know. We can understand that. But, you know, for those businesses who can afford to take the heat, they should. There's a form of a national sacrifice, I think. If they were to do that, I think that is a move that should be lauded. This is called a whole of society approach. Actually, the government has already implemented some form of this approach. For example, by introducing the hotspot identification for dynamic engagement, HIDE, they call it HIDE, and consultation with business federations and associations. You see, the introduction of HIDE, for instance, shows the consultation with data and AI experts in applying machine learning and artificial intelligence too, assisting the identification of COVID-19 hotspots. But the government needs to listen more to their ideas and recommendations. You know, it is the factories, construction sites, and educational centers that are contributing to more COVID clusters. Based on this, factories, construction sites, and education centers should be closed or subject to limited operations. If you want to let them open for the sake of the economy, then make construction sites and factories do regular swab tests. You see, in Singapore, they normally conduct swab tests in factory and construction sites once in 2 weeks. And many factory and construction site owners there are willing to pay for their workers to be vaccinated sooner. What's more, in Selangor, many factory and construction site owners are also willing to pay for their workers to be vaccinated sooner. Their willingness should be facilitated and assisted by the government.
A man claiming to be a Sabah businessman offering to donate 2 million Sinovac vaccine doses to Penang has finally come forward and explained himself. The Malay Mail reported that this man, identifying himself as Yong Chi Kong from Hong Kong-based investment company Zintai Enterprise Development Limited, insisted his offer was genuine and not bogus, as described by Science, Technology and Innovation Minister Khairi Jamaluddin yesterday. He told Malay Mail when contacted that there was no link to the firm as he was acting in his personal capacity to donate the vaccines. According to him, he had reached out to the Sabah government via the Chief Minister, but when they didn't respond, Penang approached him and said since Sabah has rejected the offer, why not offer it to them? Yong also explained that the letter bearing his signature was written by the Penang DAP to be presented as a formal offer, and that it unfortunately carried his private address and not that of a company. Following the Penang government's allegation that Putrajaya was blocking the purported vaccine donation, Khairi revealed that after performing due diligence, the government found no evidence that the donor had contacted either Sinovac in China or its local distributor here. Khairi further alleged that there was no record of Yong or the company following checks in Hong Kong. During the dispute between Putrajaya and Penang, the purported offer letter was also leaked online, which included Yong's address in Sabah.
Meanwhile, Khairi responds in a tweet that the man's explanation is a serious allegation against his office. According to Khairi, his officer got in touch with a person claiming to be Yong Chi Kong and asked him if he had proof of the donation so that the ministry can facilitate it. But the person said no. Khairi's officer then told him he can either show proof of the donation or make an official donation to the government of Malaysia, which will then be passed to the Penang government, which he refused. Khairi also added that he is happy to facilitate the donation if Yong can prove he can procure the vaccines or make an official contribution to the government.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ada ke depan, kita boleh maju. Hentikan
Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. This is chain reaction.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza.
A safer place. That has been in the mind of Putri Nuraina Balkis, who founded Save the Schools Malaysia, in an order to bring forth any incidents of sexual harassment at these institutions to the fore. Since the 27th of April, she has collected more than 800 stories detailing experiences of sexual harassment and rape culture happening in local schools. Via Instagram, these stories are broadcasted to highlight an appalling reality of the schooling system, where many have become victims of rape and sexual harassments. She speaks with us to share her findings and plead to everyone to help make schools a safer place.
This issue takes place in all forms of schools, from SMK, SJKC, SBP, MRSM, even to Sunday schools. These cases happen across all forms of schools. And more and more male victims are speaking up. But one thing that really caught me off guard is the fact that when I first set up the platform, it didn't cross my mind at all that this monstrosity can also take place in primary schools. But I think safe to say 40% of the submissions are from primary schools. Looking at the pattern of the stories, there seems like a pattern. The predators, either from the peers of the teachers, could be either targeting students who are timid enough to not speaking up about it, or even if the victims are speaking up, usually their complaints will be dismissed by their peers by saying that they're joking, or by the counselors saying that the teachers are just like treating them like their own child, or even the headmaster or headmistress will dismiss it. And usually when the complaints are being dismissed, then the victims will receive the backlash on their end.
Nuraina said enough is enough. School leaders and teachers need to do better in protecting students against rape and sexual harassment.
It's time for school leaders and teachers to take the complaints more seriously. We had enough of sweeping this under the rug, because believe the victims really, because it took them a lot of courage to speak up. And we need to stop with the idea of maintaining the school reputation, hence the idea of silencing the victims, because at the end of the day, whatever that happens to the victims when it comes to harassment or rape culture, it distorts their development as a human being. it will disrupt their psychology. It will affect their self-esteem tremendously. And worse, even if we just let these predators go and enabling them to do more harassment in the long run, then we will continue to be stuck in this vicious cycle.
Now it's more important than ever to speak up on the matter and contribute in making our schools a safer place.
At the end of the day, the victims deserve justice. And if anything, that we need to keep on speaking up about this matter, because we need to make people realize that this is a big deal. We need to make people realize that this is wrong, because for so many decades we have normalized this abomination by reducing it to jokes, or something that, let's say, the previous generation had it before, so it's fine if it continues now. It is not. Because schools are the place where we are nurturing future generations. In case, like, if there's any former and current victims that want to speak up, they can go to the Instagram page Save the Schools MY, and there's a Google form link there, so fill it out. I see you and I hear you.
On to the international front, cross-border attacks between Israel and Gaza continued for the 10th straight day. While Hamas expects the violence to reach ceasefire in a few days, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated his determination to continue fighting. Early Thursday, more than 100 Israeli airstrikes hit Hamas infrastructure in the north of Gaza. Hamas, meanwhile, retaliated with rocket fire at targets in Israel. At least 227 people, including 100 women and children, have been killed in Gaza so far. While in Israel, 12 people, including 2 children, have been killed. Weather forecaster in India has issued another cyclone warning just days after the biggest cyclone to hit the west of the country in decades left over 100 people dead. India's meteorological department said a major new storm called Cyclone Yas is brewing in the Bay of Bengal and is likely to make landfall on Wednesday. On Monday, Cyclone Tauktae hit India's west coast late, leaving a trail of destruction, compounding the misery for a country struggling with a devastating surge in COVID-19 cases. 38 people on board a barge that sank in the Arabian Sea after being hit by Cyclone Tauktae 4 days ago are still missing. Indian Navy ships worked through the night using searchlights to trace any movement in pitch-dark waters, but hopes of finding more survivors began to recede today. Indian Navy said they have recovered the remains of 37 victims so far, while 188 survivors have been rescued. In another operation, a Navy helicopter rescued 35 crew members of another barge, which ran aground north of Mumbai. The US Food and Administration has authorized the use of Pfizer vaccine at normal refrigerator temperatures for up to 1 month. The health regulator said it had made the decision based on a review of recent data submitted by Pfizer. The vials were previously only allowed to be kept at standard refrigerator temperatures of 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for up to 5 days. This change should make the vaccine more widely available and simplify the transport and delivery of this vaccine, especially in remote areas. As the national COVID-19 immunization plan picks up its pace and evolves, the involvement of state governments have taken centre stage. Tonight on Consider This, we ask Selangor and Penang representative about the specific challenges faced by each at this time. That is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. Get the latest news update on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro Awani app. I'm Farhana Sheikh. We'll see you again.